All right, all right. It's time we are going live. This is new. So we're excited. I would love your feedback on this. So we've got our chat window up. I'll be monitoring that. Want to make sure everybody can hear me loud and clear. If you can't hear something, make sure you holler. Hopefully all our technology is working appropriately. Excited to have so many of you here, especially with what's going on in the world right now. It's kind of crazy. So what we wanted to talk about is how to flip your first property during an economic crisis. And we're going to get into quite a bit of detail on this. And we're going to talk first and foremost, we're going to get into a little bit of the state of the economy. So while many industries are shutting down, others are standing firm or even thriving. Think of like food delivery or groceries, or like my neighbor, he's in shipping and they're having a better month this month than they did during Christmas. And so there's just a lot going on. At-home gyms like Peloton, is doing really, really well right now. And we're going to talk about how to profit during the coronavirus scare. And so that's something that you're going to want to be thinking about as we go through this, of how we can actually make some money. So you're going to be walking away today. By the time we end, you're going to walk away with three things. First and foremost, we're going to go through the economic impact and the forecast and what I'm going to call a hypothetical time frame as to how long this craziness is going to last. So that's the first thing that we're going to go over. The second thing that we're going to go over is, how does this affect real estate investors? How is this affecting investors right now, and how is it going to affect them in the future, so you can be prepared for that? And lastly, what you're going to walk away with is what to do to profit. How can I make money now in the current environment that we're in, so that I can have success and thrive in today's marketplace? So those are the three things you're going to walk away from by the end of our live cast today. So first thing I want to talk about is the economic impacts. And my big message here is we want to replace fears with facts. So let's dive into some facts to make sure that we're all on the same page with everything. So just a few weeks ago, our president stood up and gave the State of the Union address, and he said, this is the best market, the best economy that we have ever had of all time. This is it. This is the best. That was just a few weeks ago. On February 4th is when he had that. In February 12th to the 20th, the stock market hit an all-time high, the highest the stock market has ever been. This is just a couple weeks ago, guys. The stock market hits the highest of all time in the 20th, stays in that range. Unemployment is at an all-time low. We have never had fewer unemployed people. Basically, they said, if you wanted to be employed, you are employed. What's left are people that don't want to be employed. So virtually no unemployment. And then I think this is really important to realize that the economics a few weeks ago were amazing prior to the virus. Unemployment was low, jobs were high, incomes were high, the stock market was high. Everything had an amazing economy just a couple of weeks ago. So what's changed? So basically, the government came in and hit a big pause button. Boom, we're going to put everything on pause. Schools got canceled. Courthouses got canceled. People are staying at home. Restaurants are closed. Activities and events are canceled. So everything basically just got the big pause button. Hey, everybody, press pause for a minute due to this virus. Now, the reality is, did the economics change? Are there problems that are there? Are there underlying problems in the economy? And so we're going to talk about that, unlike other financial crises that we've been in. And one of the people that we're going to reference quite a bit here is Dr. Lawrence Yun. Dr. Lawrence Yun is the chief real estate economist and VP of research for the National Association of Realtors. This guy is in Washington, D.C. He's there with all the action. He knows what's going on, and he has access to all of the data. He has access to everything you could possibly want or imagine. And we're going to be quoting him quite frequently because he has a lot of insight. And the whole concept here, again, is to replace fear with facts. And so that's what we're going to be going into. So basically what he calls this, what Dr. Lawrence Yun calls this time, is an economic quarantine. He's basically just saying the economy's been quarantined. When you have the economy and you say, no, you can't do anything, it's in quarantine, and that effects are what we're seeing right now. So basically, the economy is ready to go. It's being held back. It's ready to roar. Everything's in place. Everything's amazing, but it's being held back because of this pause button that the government has hit due to safety concerns, which has put us in this economic quarantine. The important point, though, is the fundamentals are all there. You see, it's just like hitting this pause button that we've talked about. Now, let's go back in time and compare this to the 2007 crash and what happened in 2007 so we can have a little bit of perspective on this. You see, back in 2007, we had more houses than we could ever handle. There were 2 million homes being built per year back in 2007. Subprime loans had no credit qualifications. If you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan. That's just what was going on. It didn't matter. You could get a loan. They called them liar loans. You just went in and said, I make $100,000, whether you made $100,000 or not. They didn't care, and so they would give you the loan anyway. Banks had little oversight. They weren't required to do any type of these reportings like they do now. So if we take that 2007, and we all know what happened, and I was real estate investing then as I am now in 2020, as we look at the fundamentals of the marketplace now, I think it's really interesting. So first off, banks are regularly having stress tests. A stress test is basically where the bank gets tested quarterly and says, if 2007 happened again, how would you be able to handle it? And if they couldn't handle it based upon the loans they had out, they weren't able to get as much funding. So they are having these regular stress tests. Now, this will be interesting. Only 1 million new home builds per year versus the 2 million that we had back in 2007. So virtually half of the new builds that are happening. And as most of you know across the country, there are not enough homes. There is a supply problem. The demand is really high, but the supply isn't there, and that's been driving up prices. The reality is that demand is going to be pent up as we come out of this pause economic quarantine. Now, some of those will fall out, but the majority of those will stay in, and we'll talk about that. So there is a housing shortage in most areas. This is not where the housing is a problem, and the banks are in really solid situations. The banks are in great shape, unlike they were in 2007, where they had over-leveraged and did these liar loans. They are in great situations. They're in solid situations right now. And so one of the things I want to talk about is South Korea. If you see this graph that's going to be coming up on the screen here, in South Korea, in February 18th, South Korea had their first case of the contravirus. This was on February 18th. And you can see here, in February 30th was the peak of the virus. So about 2 weeks later, they had the peak. This is for new confirmed viruses. And then if you look at March 15th, which is down here, about a month from the time that first case has started peaking, you'll see that it's completely declined. They've had a little bit of an uptick, but here in the last few weeks here, it's just completely declined. And so it's been about, for South Korea, it's been about a 1 month cycle. You can see here coming up, and you can see it coming back down. And I think that's really important for us to realize, because for most of us here in the United States, it's just peaking, or it's just starting just this last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. And so you're going to see this type of a pattern. This was about a 1 month cycle. I'm not saying it's going to be a 1 month cycle for the United States, but I think this is important data to be looking at. The other thing that I want to show you is new cases in China. If you look at the coronavirus in China, the first cases were somewhere around January 22nd, January 24th were the first cases that came. And this is just new cases, and this is by day. You can see the daily cases that are coming on. And you can see by February 12th is when they really had a major peak. And if you look now into March 1st, you're going to see that it's just tailed off completely over here. So February 13th is really when the peak happened of the virus. February 23rd is when they started seeing the decline of the virus. And this seems like about the same 30-day curve. You can see there still are some cases that are happening, and that's just bound to happen. When I talk to my doctor friends, the idea is everybody's going to end up getting the coronavirus more than likely over the next year. And so we're going to talk about that. So this is kind of the same 30-day type cycle. I think it's important. Let's just talk about the United States. You'll be seeing the United States States coming here on your screen. The first cases were somewhere in March 12th to March 14th. You can see there's kind of something, but once you started getting, over 100 cases, once it pops on the graph here, you're probably talking March 12th, March 14th before you really start seeing it. And then you can see we're in March 22nd is the last data that I've got on this graph. And if we follow that same curve, it looks like somewhere around April 14th is when we will start to see ourselves on the other side of this thing. I think it's also important that we talk about those with the virus report feeling fine. This is Donovan Mitchell. I'm a big Utah Jazz fan, so he is one of the first to get the virus. I guess my big claim to fame is my team is what brought down the NBA. We are the last ones to be standing, so usually the last team to play the game in the NBA is the one that gets the championship. Although the Jazz haven't had a championship yet, this was the last game that was played before they canceled everything and said, hey, everybody off the courts. And it kind of was the start of this getting really serious. The NBA cancels, then you start to have schools canceled. This was kind of the start of this whole thing. Well, he ended up getting the virus, and it's interesting. He said, hey, I'm feeling fine. And most people that are getting the virus, unless they're in those high-risk situations, are actually feeling fine or feel like they have cold-like symptoms. So if you're in high risk, be careful. That's just the bottom line. If you're high risk, if you're over 70, be careful. More than likely, everybody's going to get the virus. Most of us are going to get sick, and it's just going to be like the cold. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the 2019 flu season. I don't think a lot of people have facts on what actually happened during this last flu season. So the flu season is basically just November, December, January is what we're talking about. This was actually just November, December in the flu season. So there was 36 million to 51 million illnesses. Now, why is there such a big difference? The reason is because you don't really know, is it really the flu or is it something else? And so there's always going to be a range in these things. Oh boy, what just happened? There we go. There was 370,000 to 670,000 hospitalizations due to the flu. Again, there's a range because it might be flu, it might be some other things, so they're giving us a range. Just in 2019, in the United States alone, there was somewhere between 22,000 and 51,000 deaths because of the flu just this last few months. We're talking about October, November, December, mostly just November and December. We're just talking in the United States, 22 to 51,000 deaths that happened just because of the flu. Now, let's talk about the coronavirus. There's 43,000 cases confirmed. There's been 530 deaths so far. So when we put this in perspective, as we're looking at the deaths and those things that occurred because of the flu, and I'm not trying to downplay or be disheartened whatsoever. I'm just trying to show some facts here. If you look at the numbers that are coming in there, it's not like we're having millions of people die because of it. It's unfortunate. It's difficult. It would be horrific if it was somebody that you knew or a family member. So I'm not trying to be desensitized to that at all. But as we talk about the economy and the overall global economy and what's happened, I think it's really important that we talk about that. Now, let's just talk about what's on my mind and probably on most of your minds is when do we return to normality? Like, this is no fun homeschooling kids. Like, it's crazy. It's no fun not being able to go to the restaurants, and it's no fun being holed up, and it's no fun being quarantined. It's no fun not being able to have groups of 10 or more. Like, that stuff just plain sucks. So when are we going to return to this? And I think that those feelings and emotions and everybody being pent up and frustrated doesn't help the situation at all, especially our mental capacity, because we're like, I'm freaking out here. Like, I want to be able to go do something. So the New York Times has reported that professional basketball is returning to Asia. The reason why I think this is really important is you'll see this is part of this curve. If they're having basketball come back to Asia, it means that they're feeling good about this situation and they have it under control. And when you look at the cycle that we're talking about of when it started and when professional sports are coming back, it tells us because they're a little bit ahead of the situation that we're in. Another return to normality, Bloomberg just reported that as the United States Wall Street is emptying, Asian bankers are slowly heading back to work. So the Asian Wall Street is coming back to work right now, where our Wall Street is slowing down because we're a little bit behind these guys in the curve. The point that I really want to show here is hope, because basically this thing is, we can take the cycle that we're seeing that's happened in the other countries and say, you know what, this is probably going to be about the same. So we've got bankers back in Asia that are going back to work right now. This guy is actually in charge of the Shanghai office in Singapore. And the signs of normality are that Shanghai is back to work. Traffic jams are becoming the norm against China's financial capital. So, the whole thing cleared out. And now it's back where there's traffic jams all the way again in China. In Hong Kong, the lunch spots are starting to fill up in the financial center. And so there's long lines now. People are like, okay, we're back. And so you're starting to see that come back to normality. And so if we follow the same pattern that we're seeing in Asia, we're going to be back to normality before long. So we're 3 to 4 weeks ahead. They're 3 to 4 weeks ahead of where the United States is right now. So it's something that we should be keeping in mind is that, again, the message here is really the pause button has been hit. So in terms of dealing with the outbreak, we're probably 3 or 4 weeks behind these guys right now. So this is Chris Brankin. He is the executive officer of TD Ameritrade in Asia, who is talking about these signs and things that are happening. And I think it's really important because they're just a little bit ahead of us in this entire catastrophe or financial or this crisis that we're kind of dealing with right now. And so it basically tells us, hey, we're a few weeks off. I think the other thing, as we talk about the marketplace and what's going on, is the wealthy are getting bargains of a lifetime. You're going to see this. Warren Buffett just last week spent $45 million buying Delta Airlines, among many others. So the richest in the United States and all over the world right now are spending money, and they're spending money on investments. And so if they were worried that the sky is falling and that everything's going to be ruined and that all of these economic indicators are horrible, they would not be putting their money into these things. They're putting their money in. Think of this, airlines. Airlines are virtually shut down right now, and you've got somebody investing in airlines. Why would they do that? Because they see it as an opportune time. They believe that all the economic indicators are in line. They believe in the pause button has been hit. They believe that we're just in an economic quarantine. And because of that, they believe once we're out of quarantine, everything will shoot back up. And I'm going to show you some graphs to talk about what's going to be happening with that I think you're going to be really, really interested in. So, what impacts you? Those affected. So the government. So if you have been impacted, let's say you've been laid off or you've had bonuses taken away or you've had some type of an impact, the government really wants to make you whole. If you're making less because of the coronavirus, the government essentially wants to make you whole in the United States, according to Dr. Yoon. And what they really want to be able to do, so one thing, obviously, you're going to want to take advantage of workers' compensation. Go ahead and file for that. Get your working compensation. The government's also working on this $1,000 per person or $500 per kid. It hasn't passed yet, but it's something they're working on to send everybody a check to help them. Again, they realize this is a pause button. This isn't a life cycle. This isn't a huge thing that's going to go on forever. They're saying, how can we get everybody through this? The other thing is, if you have a mortgage payment, you can get those payments deferred where you don't have to make those payments for up to 12 months if you have a Fannie or Freddie Mac loan. And most people don't even know about that. And even those that don't have Fannie and Freddie loans, lots of the banks are doing it anyway because they're borrowing at 0% interest. So first thing you do is just call your mortgage company, the number that's on the statement you get wherever you pay your loan. Go ahead and do that. And if you do that, they can work with you. We're going to be putting out a blog post probably tomorrow, so we'll be shooting you an email about exactly how to do that and the steps to do that. And so call the number on the mortgage statement. It's not automatic. And the cool thing is it's not going to hit your credit. You're not going to end up with any late fees. So if you've been impacted by this, know that this is a pause button. And then they'll give you some time. You can pay it off on the future, or you can turn that into, they'll add it onto your loan and reamortize. And then sometimes they'll even extend your loan out so you have more time to make the payment. And the reason why I share this is I want to make sure everybody knows this information's out there, and all these things are going to help support the marketplace as a whole. The government is working on money for employers to hire back anybody that has been let go, and then they'll forgive that loan to the employers. So that's something that hasn't happened yet, but it's something that's in the works. So there's a lot happening. Again, the government essentially essentially wants to make you whole if you've been affected by this and by this contravirus. And so a couple of things. This is the Bank of America U.S. economist for the bank. Although the decline is severe, we believe it will be very, very short-lived or fairly short-lived. We believe the same things. We believe that what we're talking about is the pause button. What we believe is this economic quarantine, as Dr. Yoon says. Bank of America economist is also saying the same thing. This is just a short-lived. There's a decline, yes. One thing to keep in mind is that 50% of Americans don't even have money in the stock market. Most of the money is in your house, and houses don't trade daily, and the prices don't go up and down like you're talking about in the stock market. So we believe that those values are going to be holding very, very solid. The next person I want to talk about is the chief economist of First Trust Portfolio. This is Brian Westbury. Brian Westbury says, we expect the second quarter of 2020 to be a 10% negative GDP. What is GDP? It's gross domestic product, and it basically says we're going to have a downturn. That's just all there is. But he is saying the exact same thing. First Trust Portfolio is saying, we believe this will be short-lived contraction. It'll just be very short-lived, and we expect growth in Q3 and Q4. Q3 and Q4 is right around the corner. July, August, September is Q3. So we're talking July. They expect growth in July, and they're expecting the downturn just to be in this second quarter, all because of this whole virus, all because of this pause button, all because of this economic quarantine that we're currently in. So we'll make up lost ground in the economy, jobs will be created, and growth will happen. So this is really good news if you're a real estate investor or if you've been affected by the contravirus yourself. So these are things that we should be keeping in mind, that everyone is saying we're going to see some growth. Excuse me. And I think it's also important to note that they call this a contraction. They're not calling this some major crazy crisis, although it's a crisis as far as the virus itself from the economics. They're saying everything's in place. The economy is great. The economy is fantastic. The economy has been stuffed into a closet. Somebody locked the door and it can't get out. And as soon as we unlock the door, we're going to be back to where we were and then some, according to these economists. The next one I want to talk about is Vanguard. Vanguard is one of the first and foremost where they do different type of ETFs and they do different trading. And so mutual funds. So what we've got here is their report on what they think is happening. Now, this is stock market related. This is not what's happening in the real estate sector, but it's important to see this just overall. So they're expecting, you can see the first half of 2020 here, and you can see how it's gone down. We've already gone down. But you can see this huge spike back up that they're expecting, and then they're expecting a level off. If you look at these prior years, they're expecting it to spike more than it's ever spiked since like forever, but then they think it'll level back down. So you're going to see this retraction, which we're in the middle of because of this economic pause button, because of this economic quarantine. You're going to see it shoot back up and then level back to where it was basically before all of this even happened. So I think the whole concept here is, how do we make money through the pause, or what do we do during this pause? We think it's not going to last forever. It's going to last, maybe another month. I don't know, maybe 2 months. But most people are saying by July, things are going to be shooting right back up, if not sooner than that. So this is according to Vanguard. So let's go back to Dr. Yoon, the chief economist and senior VP of research of the National Association of Realtors. And here's the thoughts. Let's just talk about housing. How does this affect real estate? His quote is, "Housing is on very solid ground, yet we're running into this economic quarantine that is shutting down the economy temporarily." I like that, temporarily. Each one of these great economists are saying, hey, temporary, on pause, shutdown, quarantine. These are the types of things that they're saying, but it's important to realize, unlike 2008, the effects on real estate, really, they don't believe is going to be there because it's going to be so short-lived. So this is his quote: "If it is short-lived duration, one can anticipate quite a strong real estate rebound after, say, 1 or 2 months of somewhat a lackluster activity." He's even not saying it's going to go down. And actually, in an interview I listened to with him, he was like, "Hey, if I had a good job and I was in healthcare or whatever the case is, and I wasn't worried that my job was being impacted, I would go buy a house right now, and I would even try and get a little bit better deal right now." And we're going to talk about that here in just a minute, as well as we talk about what we can do as real estate investors. We had a housing shortage going into this virus. And if the duration of this virus, negative impact is short, we'll run into a housing shortage right away again. This is something I really want to highlight for our real estate investors out there. Is there was a shortage and there's going to be another shortage as long as this virus situation is short-lived, which we all believe, looking at China, looking at Asia, looking at South Korea, that it will be short-lived. I mean, I can't wait. I don't know what the NBA is going to do, but I certainly hope to see basketball here soon again, because I would love it. I mean, what's the worst? You're locked into your house and you can't even watch sports. How much? And you're homeschooling your kids. I mean, come on. We're all getting fed up with it. So the effects on real estate looks like it's really not going to be major. Again, I just want to call it the pause button here. Now, let's talk a little bit about the spring buying season. I've got a lot of real estate agents that are tuning in here. What's going to happen during this spring buying season? Typically, during the spring, we have a huge uptick of sales that are happening. We're starting to come into the spring. What's going to happen? And Dr. Hune is saying if the economic shutdown is just short duration, it will be just a delayed spring buying season. So he's basically saying the buying season for the spring season won't be now. It'll just be delayed a little bit. It'll be in August or September when we see that. So the idea is that same spring fever buying season will be happening. It'll just be delayed a couple of months. The reality is that situations are happening. One of the things is people being in their house hanging out are saying, I need a bigger house, or they're saying, I need a home office, or whatever the case is. And so as long as they have those good jobs and those things after we come out of this pause button, they'll be looking to be buying again. So Dr. Hume believes that spring buying season will just be delayed a couple of months, and we'll be seeing that in August or September. He also says if there's a short duration coronavirus impact, then we will see a fairly robust late summer going into fall home sales market. He also says, I would like to see more home building activity come onto the market once we go past this crisis. The whole issue is there's just not a lot of homes, and he's hoping to see more of those homes being built. So this isn't gloom and doom. This isn't end of the world. This is saying, hey, we need more houses. We have a housing shortage. We need them. And everybody is saying that, other than the media that's getting paid a lot to get eyeballs to say all the horrible things that are happening. But when you replace fear with facts, once the all clear sign is addressed to say the virus situation is over, I think we're going to see a great, robust rebound in people searching for homes. Now, I want to highlight this once we see this situation over. So what are we doing as real estate investors during this situation? We're going to talk about that. We're going to jump into that in quite a bit of detail. Also, Dr. Yoon says housing is on very solid ground if we were to go into a recession. So even if we went into a recession, which he's not saying we necessarily are, he's saying housing is on amazingly solid ground. So it's going to pass. This is short-lived virus. Negative impact will pass. Dr. Hune, I want to just highlight this. It's going to pass. This short-lived virus, negative impact, will pass. It's going to pass. The spring buying season will be delayed. We're going to see people back doing it. We need house construction. We do not have enough housing. We have a shortage. It's going to continue. We've seen the economic indicators from a lot of different smart, very good economists that are telling us what they believe is going to be happening. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk just a little bit about interest rates. You've seen that the Federal Reserve has gone to a 0% interest rate, but what's called prime rate is about 3.8 right now. I want to make sure everybody realizes the Federal Reserve is basically what banks borrow from the Federal Reserve for. So basically, banks are borrowing from the Federal Reserve at 0%. The prime rate, which is what you see quite a bit, this is what banks charge what they call prime or best borrowers. So it's the average of several banks, say 10 or 20 banks. Let's just use numbers. And they basically say, what are you charging your best borrowers, your best qualified borrowers? And so they all tell them, and then they average it out by the number that they have. And right now it's like 3.8% is basically what prime rate is, and that's always changing. So the fact that we are in a very accommodating monetary policy means mortgage rates will be at historic lows. And this is really important as we talk about what's going to be happening after we get off this pause button, after we get off this economic quarantine, is your interest rates will still be at historic lows. And the most recent data shows about 3.3%. It could go even down to 3%. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean what you're going to be paying, but it's going to be in that same range, which is fantastic when we're talking about home buyers, when we're talking about real estate investing, when we're talking about what we should be doing. Can I share the slide? I'm just getting some comments here. Can we share the slides? They are great. Yeah, absolutely. You'll be able to review this anytime. And then in the house, yeah, I can't even say your name, Tracy. It looks like, but you're in the house. Glad to have you. Please post comments if you got questions and comments. I am live. I am reading this and comments as they're coming in. So please post those up. And Maria, happy to get these slides to you as well. We'll have a replay on this as well. So we're expecting interest rates to go down to 3%. It's according to Dr. Hume. And this will improve home buying once the virus pause button is over. So not only do we have these stimuluses coming, not only do we have this short duration, not only do we have these low interest rates, and not only do we have this demand and not enough supply in housing, all of these things is why all of these economists are saying this is simply a small pause. And that's the situation that everything's in right now. So what does this all mean? What does it mean to you? It really just means everything is hitting the pause button. Q3 and Q4 should be back on track to where we were. Housing's been the safe haven and is in good shape. And one thing I think is really interesting is our houses right now, we're like falling in love with our houses again. This is like the only safe place we have, where the government's saying, they're saying, hey, go to your house and stay there. So I hope that you're falling in love with your house again. And if you're not, then I think you need to buy a new house in this spring buying season. Or if your job's really secure right now, maybe try and make a good offer right now and buy the house. Maria, appreciate this. She says, this has been very informative and very reassuring. It has to me as well, as I've been deep diving into what's really happening and what do we do about all of this. So I appreciate the comments. Keep them coming. Banks are in really good shape. So banks are not in trouble like they were before. They weren't doing these stupid loans. They weren't getting themselves in trouble. So banks are in good shape. And once commerce can start again, things will be back on track. And so I think for a lot of us, the whole thing is we have to just be willing to press the pause button ourselves as investors and things that we're doing. Take some time to be with your family. Take some time to do what you can do. And we're going to talk about what you can do, how this affects real estate investors. The first thing I've got to say is the sky is not falling. It may feel like it, and believe me, I've felt that way several times as well, but the sky is not falling. The cycle's happening. We've seen the cycle in other places. We're seeing them come out of the cycle. We know that the economics are in good shape. We know the market's in good shape. We know housing's in good shape. We know interest rates are low, and we know the government is making big pushes to get everybody whole as much as possible. Everything's in great shape except for we have to just get through this short time that's going to kind of suck. And some of my buddies in the military basically say, hey, you got to embrace the suck. That's just all there is to it. Embrace the suck. And that's kind of what we're going through right now is embracing the suck, dealing with homeschooling, dealing with kids, dealing with church cancel, dealing with all these things that we normally like. When is a good time to start investing in real estate? Oscar, we are going to get there. Everything is on pause. Thanks for the comment, by the way. Keep them coming. So yesterday, everything is on pause. The sky is not following. Medium and long-term prospect is great for the overall economy and for real estate. Capital and financial markets are highly volatile. This is one thing that's really important, and this is going to put more of a pause button. The stock markets and the capital markets are just going crazy right now, and so that's putting things on pause. Lots of things that are going on there. So lending guidelines are changing frequently. They're even changing daily. Higher credit score requirements are being required. Lower loan to cost and loan to value are happening. Higher interest rates are happening. So you should be expecting all of these things happening temporarily. So you've got to realize what's happening on this is all of these things are shooting up. You're going to have higher credit scores needed, higher loan to cost, all those types of things for the moment. And then once things get back on track and this economic pause doesn't happen, then it will be back to business as usual. But in the meantime, you should be expecting these things as a real estate investor. This is going to basically say you're going to either have to hit the pause button as a real estate investor on deals you're looking at right now, or you're going to have to look at another way to do those deals. And I'm going to show you how to get those deals done in this economy. And so the price pause, this is also really interesting. the price pause right now, anybody, I know wholesalers and retailers and everybody, the issue is, what do I price it at? And the reason is you don't really know, because comps from what sold a couple of weeks ago really aren't comps. And until we get to the other side of the crisis, people are like, I don't know if I really even want to make an investment right now. So prices are an issue. So I call it a price pause as well. Let's say, Kenny, will you be lowering your interest rates? No, right now, there's no way they're going to be getting lowered. And honestly, expect higher interest rates, expect lower loan to cost, expect these things temporarily happening because it's necessary. But don't expect that for long. Once we get out of the economic pause, economic quarantine, didn't expect everything to be back to usual. So don't expect those things to be changing. And then agree with Maria, free is a great motivator, leverage. Yeah. I'm with you. So thanks, Money Man. I like it. Okay, due to buyers hitting the pause button, nobody really knows what to do. So, people are just saying, hey, I just want to wait a minute. So due to the financial markets being volatile, although you have comps for home sales, it's really difficult to get a good deal or to get data right now. I have a wholesaler buddy of mine sent out 3 deals. He usually gets hundreds of calls, and he got 1 call because people are saying, oh no, I just don't know what to do. Well, what happens is once we get out of this economic quarantine, and once we get on the other side of the virus, like Asia has already done, then we're going to see activity coming back, and you're going to see all those things. So the idea is, what do you do during the pause? So this makes values really unknown just for the time being, just temporarily, just for the moment, just till we get on the other side of this thing. And so there's going to be some things we should be doing right now. Some other things, there's some practical difficulties. Evaluators and appraisals, we're having difficult time scheduling. I should say us. I'm talking about the market as a whole. And some are just not accepting work. Hey, I can't go to the house. My governor won't let me go to the house. He wants me quarantined. Or I don't want to go to the house. So you're having issues with like that. This is economy-wide. Inspectors, they're having difficulty scheduling, and some aren't accepting work. No, we're not going to go out to the property, or we can't get into the property. So these are things that are just happening. And again, this is all temporarily. Limited availability and safety concerns. So what I'm saying is you should expect delays. As far as higher interest rates and lower loan to values and those types of things, you should expect delays. And so title insurance. Thanks for the comments, Money Man. Title insurance, they're short-staffed. Everybody's working from home. They may not be able to get title reports. They may not be able to get to the county recorders. They're requiring additional gap coverage. And if not available, the closing is going to have to be delayed. Courthouses are closed. Currently, many courthouses are closed or on limited staffing, and more are happening every day. 8 more states today quarantined and said, hey, you got to stay at home for the next several weeks or for the next 4 weeks. It's different state by state, but states are quarantined. So all these things are happening, which again is just the pause button. We're just hitting the pause button. With e-closings and electronic records not available everywhere, the lack of access is going to prevent some clear title policies, which is going to slow down availability of closings. So the $1 million question, what can real estate investors do? What can they do right now? And if you've got questions that aren't being addressed, please put them in here because I'm viewing these comments and I want to address them. What can real estate investors do? Number one, if you have a contract right now, I would get a 30 or 60-day extension. And I think it's really quite easy. All the things we just talked about. Hey, schools are shut down, churches are shut down, airports are shut down, everything's shut down. We need some more time to make this closing happen. And you're going to be happy you did, because temporarily, interest rates are going up, loan to value is going down, credit score requirements are going up. All these things are happening, and you don't want to take advantage of that deal right now necessarily. You want to hit the pause button and say, hey, we're all just hitting the pause button. We'll be back to where it was. Just in 30 days, 60 days, we'll be back to where it was, and we'll be off to the races again. That's the type of thing that we want to be doing if we have a property under contract. And or get 30 days extensions. Just say, hey, let's just auto extend every 30 days. Oscar, yes, Oscar, what can we do now? I'm going to get to it. So the question is, what can you do right now? We're going to get deep dive into what I am doing right now and what I think you should be doing right now. This is simply, if you've got a contract right now, for me, I would get an extension. I don't want to have to deal with the increased parameters that are going to be required. So I would just get an extension. The other thing is just protect your earnest money. Just protect your earnest money. Get your earnest money so you've got more time so you don't lose that earnest money. Jeff, how do you see the U.S. coming out of this virus period? Then we are not taking the same action transactions as China, South Korea have been? It's a great question. I think that we're going to be in the same. I mean, maybe it takes a little longer. I don't know. A lot of the physicians that I've consulted with are saying, you know what, everybody's going to get the virus, but unless you're like a high risk situation, I really wouldn't worry about it. So I am expecting that we'll have the same cycle. I think it may just be a little bit longer, but the cycle should remain the same. And I think that it's also going to be regional because you've got governors dealing with things differently. So it's a great question. I don't really know the answer. My personal opinion is I think we're going to be out of this thing in the next 30 days. Money Man, preview property and data build and capture properties you are after. Yes, Money Man, I love where you're going here. We're going to get into that in quite a bit of detail on how to get your hit list and how you can actually get properties going. So everybody's hitting the pause button. As real estate investors, you don't want to hit the pause button, but you want to hit the pause button on closing deals. You're going to want to be going after deals and working on them and getting longer terms. That's what I would recommend. And then don't be worried to lose a deal. You can get it back in a month. If you have a deal currently under contract, I would go renegotiate it. That's the other thing I would do is go back and say, hey, the sky is falling. All this stuff's going on. I can pay less for this property than I could before. And you'll probably get a pretty good reduction. And then you say, and I need 60 days to close it. And I need some 30-day extensions. I mean, look, the courthouses are closed and this is closed. These are the types of conversations that we want to be happening. So, getting back to, I don't know whose comment, somebody said, what do we do now? Oscar's comment, how do you profit now? That's what we're going to talk about. Oscar, what should first-time wholesalers be doing before everything gets back to normal? Boom. Oscar, we are getting there. Here we go. If you've got more comments, make sure you put them in. I am watching them and love having you guys here. How to profit today. What to do right now. If you're in this situation, you want to make money. You want to take advantage of what's going on right now. You want to help the economy. I mean, that's one of the best things you can be doing is investing to help the economy. What do? First and foremost, don't freak out. Let fear be replaced by facts. I've had 4 different economists that have told us that this is temporary. I've had 4 different economists that have told us that it's short term. We've looked at multiple countries that we've seen how this has happened with the curve. We know what's happening. We've seen them ahead of us. We've seen in Asia how they're getting back to normal. Restaurants are filling up. There's traffic in the streets again. There's traffic jams, and people are now just as mad at yelling at each other because they're in traffic jams again. Normality comes back, so don't give up. Unlike the prior recession, real estate is poised to do very, very well. We're not worried that before real estate and those horrible mortgages were the drain on everything. But right now, that's not the case because simply it is this whole corona pause, the coronavirus. Everybody's putting a pause. It's an economic quarantine. That's what's happening. So everything is going to jump right back up according to all the economists that we've been studying. And I think the next thing you've got to do is I'm going to say be patient. Be ready to make 12 months worth of real estate income in 9 months. So I think you just have to say, hey, I'm going to have to be a little patient. So I believe that you'll be able to make as much or more money in a shorter time period than you were for the whole year. So be patient. Realize that as this corner turns. So people often ask me, hey, do you care what happens in the market? If it goes up and goes down. And I say, I just want movement. I just want the market to go up and down. And I don't want it to be massively drastic, right? That's really all I'm looking for. We just want movement because movement creates opportunity. So you may not be busy now, but you will be in a few months. But there are some things you can do now to prepare to be busy in a few months so you're ready to take advantage of this and start cashing checks and making money. So be ready to work double in a few months to take advantage of those opportunities. Know that they're going to be coming and get ready now. So this is the third thing I would say, and please keep those comments coming. I appreciate what's being said there. Get trained, get better, and improve your skills. If nothing else, start getting better. So there's several things that you can do. Values training. We have amazing values training. We have expert, we have advanced, and we have basic values training where you can go through and train yourself and make sure you know how to do the values. We have repair bids training, so you can go through and make sure you know how to do all of the repair bids. Lots of people are too busy. They've been putting those things off. You're now quarantined. Maybe you're in your house. Go ahead and do those things. The other thing I'd really recommend, and I think Oscar, I can't remember who brought it up, the wholesaling. If you don't know how to wholesale or the the right ways to wholesale, go through the wholesaling training. We have all these things provided in DHM in our back office. So go take advantage of these things. Now's the time to get your skills to get better. The other thing I would say during this economic quarantine, during this pause button, is prepare to buy cash flow properties. That's one of the things. Cash flow is the key. So really, if you can get yourself positioned where you can take advantage of some of these things, and the first thing I would say is if you haven't been working on fixing your credit, you should now. And if you have the time, you can start sending letters and doing things, or even hire a firm. They're fairly inexpensive to do to start cleaning up your credit. Long term, if you're going to be a real estate investor and you want to get successful at this, you're going to need to get in the game of getting cheaper money. And the way you're going to get cheaper money is getting it from banks. And if you want to get it from banks, you're going to have decent credit. And according to Dr. Hume, we could see 3% interest rates. If you can get 3% interest rates and tie down properties, you're going to have yourself in a great situation. So most people's credit reports can get fixed pretty quickly. There's just a few stupid things that they need to clean up. So go and look at that so you can position yourself to get into long-term properties. Truly grateful for this info. Thanks, Nathan. I would definitely like a copy of the slides. Thanks again. Thanks for shouting out, Nathan. The other thing that you need to do right now is business partners. Now is the time to start making business partners. You call them and say, hey, guess what? Your stock market just went down 30%. You should be doing alternative investments. Why don't you invest with me in real estate? You're going to need some business partners for cash. Even if you're getting a hard money loan, even if you're working with us, you're going to need additional cash. It's just part of the game. And so you can start building business partner relationships. The stock market's down. Now is the time to find those funding partners. And they have cash and they have good credit. Get people that have cash and good credit. If your credit sucks, find somebody that's got great credit. If you don't have extra cash, find somebody that has cash and work out a partnership. And also, we have training on business partner essentials also that you can go in, you can go through those things. Now is the opportune time because people that have money in the stock market are scratching their head saying, is there something better? Because I'll tell you, I have a lot of real estate. My real estate didn't go down 30%. My people are still paying their rents. Everything's looking great. A few of them may not be able to, depending upon what sector they're in their jobs, but I'm going to be working with the banks to take advantage of not making payments for a couple of months on those and give them some time to catch up. So everything's looking good from that. So now is the time to get business partners and then turn their good credit into cash. So you can actually work with your business partners to turn their good credit into cash if they don't have it. And if they have cash, we can help turn their cash into you doing more deals. And that's the key. So we're going to talk about that. And I've got a whole bunch more information on all of these. And at the end, we're going to talk about if that's something you guys want to do. We probably are, 10 more minutes or something like that. So, but we're going to do this again. I want to do more live casts if you guys like it. So if you've liked the live cast so far, make sure you shout it out. This is the first time we've ever done a live cast like this. If you're liking it, let me know. We've got a few shout outs, but I'd sure like to know because there's a lot of effort, as you can imagine, so much that goes into this. So if you like it, leave a chat comment so we can do, and then we'll decide if we're going to do some more of these. Okay. The next secret I would say to profit right now is take advantage of the 0% money. So what a lot of people don't realize is although temporarily you're going to see lending go higher, be more expensive, loan to values going down, higher credit score requirements, I believe all of that is just for the next month and may not even be that long, maybe 2 months at worst, but for the next couple of weeks. I mean, I've talked to a lot of money sources that are saying, hey, we're only going to be, by next week, we think we're going to be getting better pricing. Okay, that's great as well. So take advantage of the 0% money. Most people don't know that there's this 0% money. And the reality is, if you want to be a real estate investor or you are a real estate investor, cash is what is king. Cash is what you need. So most time you're just going to need some extra cash. You might need it to close a deal. You might need it for extra repairs. You might need the money for something else. You might need it for payments. Who knows? So you want to take advantage of 0% money. So credit card lending has not gone away. And as a matter of fact, if you haven't taken advantage of credit card loans, there's these things called credit card loans where you can get money for 6 to 24 months at 0% interest, and you can actually use that credit card money to make purchases for real estate. And the way you have to do that is you use a special technique where you take that money, make a purchase, they wire the money for the closing. This is not a cash advance. This is actually using it as a charge. And so we've got a great partnership. You can use it for down payments if you do the right system. So what I'm basically saying is take advantage of the 0% 0% money, get your gunpowder. The credit card lenders are not going away. As a matter of fact, they did better in 2008 than they did in prior years. So we want to position yourselves where you have this gunpowder ready to go so you can take advantage of it. If you're interested in any of this, let me know as well. Any of these things you're interested, let me know, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit. Appreciate the comments. So it looks like we got a few people that want some more live casts. We need more of this. Cool. This is great. I love this. Thank you. Love this. Exciting. Thanks. Awesome. Cool. Live the cast. Would like to get a copy of the PowerPoint. Love this. Yeah, I'd love to get some more comments. It looks like a few people are liking it. Really appreciate it. So wholesaling remotely. This is the other thing that you can look at doing. So let's say that you're home, you're quarantined, you're working from home, whatever the case is. One of the things you can take advantage of is wholesaling remotely. So most people don't realize you can actually buy properties in states you don't even live in. So you could buy a property somewhere else, and you could buy a property without even seeing the property. So one of the things you can do is you can say which states are doing really well right now, what states and cities, who's not under quarantine, who's not, having to be at house or whatever the case is, and then find properties without having to go inside. So you can actually buy the properties remotely. And so with the remote property purchases, and then you actually don't even go under contract. So you find the deal, you put it under contract, and then you can sell the property to a cash buyer without ever going inside the home. You don't even have to go inside the property. So basically what you're doing is you're finding the property, you're finding the buyer, you're using Investor's Edge software to do both of those for you. You're making offers over the phone, getting those offers accepted. And here's the killer thing with this. If you get a wholesale property under contract and you have a hard time selling it, you just tell the seller you can't buy it. So what I typically do in those negotiations is I say, hey, I think I can do this, but I may not be able to, Mr. Seller. So let's just do this. Just give me a few weeks, 3 weeks in this scenario. I would say give me a month or maybe 2 months because of all the economic craziness. And I'll let you know. If I can't do it, I'll come back and we'll part as friends. And so then you can go back to them and say, I'm sorry, I wasn't able to make it happen. And so that's the whole wholesaling remotely, which if you like that, tell me, put it in the comments, and then I could do a whole live cast just on wholesaling remotely. So, and then how fast you can get paid really, really fast with this strategy as well. The other strategy that you can be using right now is called MLS Sniper. Okay, looks like we got a few more comments. Talk more about credit card loans. If you're interested in those credit card loans to turn some money into gunpowder, let me know, and we can do a whole live cast just on that subject matter. For those of you that are members of ours, you can go into the back office and you can find that out. We have lots of information in there. Great live stream. Appreciate it. Good info. Really appreciate it. Love the live cast. Awesome. Wonderful. Love live cast. Fantastic. Okay, let's go on to our next subject before we're going to have to wrap up here. MLS Sniper. This is probably one of the most overlooked strategies. How to make offers without ever seeing the home. You can actually work with real estate agents. And so what you're doing is you are using the data from Investor's Edge, and you're finding deals, you're finding properties that used to be on the MLS or are currently in the MLS that have a lot of equity, that have been on the market for a long time, and you're making an offer to them. Most people make the mistake of buying off the MLS and they just buy at retail, and that never works out. But if you know that they can take less money than what they're asking, so say they're asking, $150,000 for the property, but you know that they only owe $60,000 for the property. So if you made an offer at $100,000, you know they could take it and still walk away with cash. And if that made money for you, then you could do it. And so you're making offers on those. So you're doing the research up front and you're making offers. Most people that are using our MLS Sniper are reporting every 10 to 15 offers, they're actually getting a deal under contract. Now, again, you want to make sure you're giving yourself 60 days closing time frame and extensions, all that stuff, so we can get out of this economic pause, those types of things. But you can use the data to make the best deals and give yourself a 60-day closing. And by then, I think you'll be seeing all of the lending opening up. You can do this from your home, and you can do this without ever seeing the property because our agents are going to help us out with that. So if you want more information on MLS Sniper, make sure you put it in the comments as well, and we'll be talking about it. Let me look here. Just say, should we be applying to offer in the mail regardless? No. Oscar, you don't want to be applying in the mail with the credit cards. You've got to use a special logarithm that's going to tell you which banks to work with and that type of stuff. And those you're not going to be able to convert into cash to use for real estate. You can use it for some repairs and that type of stuff. So Oscar, if you're interested in that, just jump in the members area or, vote I'm going to have everybody vote here at the end about what they want the next live cast to be about. And so make sure you vote for that. Yes, wholesaling live cast. Great. We're going to tally all these up and whatever gets the most votes. I'm interested in the credit card loans. Great. Okay. Keep saying whatever you're interested in. What is the advantage of joining DHM? Oh, elite custom renovations. Everything is the advantage. It'll basically be the difference between success and not success, but I'm biased. But I don't want to get into that stuff. If you have some questions, give us a call. One of our guys would love to talk to you about it. So, okay, seller financing. This is something that's typically overlooked. So be the bank, letting sellers be the bank. Seller finance is a great way to buy properties, especially if you don't have the best credit, where you can actually buy properties and get the seller to be the bank. No to low interest rate loans. You can actually get a loan at no interest rate when you're working with sellers being the bank and buying on cash flow. I've done lots of seller financing deals. No credit score requirements. So if you have bad credit or anything else like that, that doesn't really matter. So if you're interested in seller financing, the cool thing is, even though you've got some of the markets that are tied up right now, you can make offers. If you use Investor's Edge software, you can make offers to people who own the property free and clear, or you can do wraparound mortgages where you buy the property subject to the existing mortgage and you don't have to get financing from anywhere. You may need a little bit of money, and you could get that money from the credit card loans and use that money to pay them. So seller financing, you could be buying properties, even if the courthouse is closed, you could be buying properties like that, just get the deed and record it later. So if that's something that's interesting to you, please let me know. So really what I want to know for this next live cast is one, if you've liked it, let me know. Because it takes hours and hours and hours of effort and a ton of money to put on the live cast, because there's a lot of research and time and everything else that goes into this. So if you want live casts, let me know if you want me to keep doing these. Comment, give us the comments and let me know if you want me to keep doing that. We've gotten several. So let me know in the next one, do you want me to talk about MLS Sniper? Do you want me to talk about wholesale remotely? Do you want me to talk about 0% money, the credit card money? Do you want to talk about preparing to buy cash flow properties, the things you should be doing to do that? Do you want me to talk about business partners? Do you want me to talk about seller financing buying? So which of these do you want me, let me just go back here. Which of these do you want me to talk about next time? So please put your comments in now. Let me know what you want me to go over. One of these 6 things is what I think I'll go over. If we've got enough positive response from this, we'll be evaluating it. And I want to know what you want. So MLS Sniper, again, this is finding these properties that are on the market, but we know they have equity by doing the research. About 1 in 10, 1 in 15 turns into a viable deal. We still have to structure that deal long term. Secondly, wholesaling remotely. This is buying these properties out of state and never having to go see them, having somebody else do it. 0% money is these credit card loans that we can actually use for real estate at 0% for 6 to 24 months, which is amazing. Frankly, I don't even care what the interest rate is, because I can make so much money by doing a deal. I don't really care about the interest rate because I'm going to pay it off and get it again and pay it off. So preparing yourself to buy cash flow properties. We're going to talk about credit repair and those types of things. Business partners, how to go out there and find these business partners that you can be working with that are going to be your business partners long-term to help you explode your real estate. And then seller finance buying, which is getting sellers to finance it with 0% interest. So those are the types of things that I want to be covering. If you guys have liked the live cast, appreciate the comments that have been here. What I think is most important, just kind of wrapping up here, is this is a cycle. We know the cycle. Other people have been through it. Asia is in great shape. They're back. The professional sports is starting back next week or this week. So we know the cycle that we're going through. Number 2, the fundamentals of the economy are in great shape. It's just being held back right now. So in the next 30 to 60 days, we're going to see this. All 5 economists are saying things are going to skyrocket. And so be ready for that. You're going to have to make some adjustments. If you've got deals right now, you're going to have to make some adjustments, get some extensions, do those types of things. And right now, rather than just sitting on your hands, position yourself. Use these 6 things so that you can be ready to take advantage of this upshot of what's going to be happening in Q3 and Q4 of this year. Okay, I appreciate the comments. Keep them coming. Really appreciate it. The other thing I wanted to do is just to have a giveaway for everybody. So if you are on the live cast deal and you've been through, we're almost coming to our hour mark here. If you've done that, I want to give you something. I should back up. Guys, with all the craziness that's going on right now, I really encourage you to make this your finest hour. Find some people that are having difficult times and try and make their day a little bit better. I just went to I went to Costco or wherever, Sam's Club, and I went and got a bunch of candy, and I wrote a note. And I got some, put out some poems and a few things that mean a lot to me. And I started writing these notes anonymously. And I'm going around my freaking neighborhood to guys that I know are going through really, really difficult times, similar to what I'm going through. And I'm leaving these on their doorstep anonymously. And that's helping me help other people that are going through difficulties right now. So I think this is an opportunity with a virus where you can reach out, take care of your neighbor, be a good citizen. Think of people that are going through more difficult times. Maybe somebody's lost their job. Go do something for them. So I think that also will help you get through some of the coronavirus pause button. So anyway, I think that's going to be one of our finest hours. But for anybody that's here, I want to give something to you. This is my 94 ways to find deeply discounted real estate. I'm not asking you to buy anything. Nothing's for sale here. I think there's like 2 or 3 hours of how to find properties. There are step by step. We've got the CDs, you got the DVDs, and you also have the workbooks and the toolkit. We sell it for $297 or $697. I don't know how much we sell it for. But if you just go to dohartmoney.com/94-ways-giveaway, you can get a free digital copy. I'm not going to mail you the actual one, but you can get the free digital copy of this absolutely for free. So just go over there if you want to claim that and get a copy of it. Guys, that's it. When we're done here, we're coming on the hour mark, which is what I wanted to do. I appreciate all the comments. I'm just going through here. Sounds like we've had a few people that are interested. Please put in here what you want to see. My team will be going through this. We'll be tallying it up and see all the above. I love it. I'm just going to run through a few comments myself. Great stuff. Appreciate you, Jason, for being here. Oscar, yes, I'm a current member. Oscar, thanks for being a member. We're here with you, excited to work through this challenging time and get to the other side of it for some profit. MLS Sniper, love it. Elite Custom Homes. Kenya, thanks for being here. Money Man, thanks for all your comments. All the above. I love it. Let me just scroll back. I'm going to scroll back one screen so you can have, again, put these in, the MLS Sniper, what you're most interested in. Credit card money, great. Credit card lending, we can get into that. Thanks for sharing the 0% money. Juan, is that what you want me to do next time? If so, put it in the comments here. Kenya, we've got that. Wholesaling remotely, I'm happy to cover that if it wins. Seller finance, it sounds like we maybe should do a live cast again. I don't know. I don't know if this is a lot of comments or not. So, but yeah, if you want the live cast, keep the comments coming. Buying cash flowing properties, seller financing, love it. Prepare yourself to buy cash flowing properties, love it. Credit card loans, please, good. Wholesaling remotely, okay, 0%, 0%. Thanks for being with us, Maria. Thanks for being with us, Samuel. Appreciate it. Oscar, business credit, I like it. Wholesaling remotely and 0%. China, I think it is. Christopher, 0% money, like it. Love the cash flow properties, seller financing. Thanks for being with us, Ray. Let's see here. Troy, buy cash flow properties. Money Man, great job. Thanks, Money Man. I really appreciate it. Kenya, credit cards. Okay, we got it. Pascal, 0%. It looks like 0% money may be the thing for next week, and it sounds like maybe I should do another live cast next week. Interested in MLS Sniper. I love it. MLS Sniper is one of my favorites. Awesome information. Jay, thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it. Tracy, we dig it. Thanks, Tracy. Thanks for being here. Jay, cool. Let's see. Really enjoyed everything. Can't wait for the next one. Awesome. Live cast like this. Fantastic. Oscar, Sam, love it. Okay, wonderful. More live casts. Please cover all the topics. Cover all the topics. We won't be able to do them all at once, but we can do a little bit. Okay, guys, well, I am going to sign off here. Thank you so much. Oh, let me just change slides real quick. Again, if you want to claim that 94 ways to get deeply discounted real estate, again, now is the time. Do the study. Get yourself ready, prepared, so you can take advantage of what's to come here because the future is bright. Thanks for being with me, and we will see you next time on our next live cast. Thanks, everybody.